I think it's pretty safe to say that a lot of us felt the same way when Luke Skywalker met his demise at the very end of The Last Jedi by Rian Johnson, where we witnessed him using that force projection technique and how much of a strain it really put on his body, allowing him to literally become one with the Force and just become, of course, a thing of the past. And that's one thing that a lot of fans were very skeptical and very critical about, that using such a power killed Luke Skywalker in the process. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the kind and great support. Now, one thing about, of course, Disney Star Wars right now is that Bob Iger and the higher-ups over at Disney, the board members, etc., they're all really coming together and trying to find strategies to really win back the fans and to bring the Star Wars fans that basically left after the sequel trilogy movies came to an end, as well as when Gina Carano got fired. Those two big events are when a lot of fans really kind of just left the franchise behind for quite a long time. Mando Season 2 brought back quite a number of fans back, but they still have to actually get their hands on a lot of others that refuse to come back to this scenario. Now that brings us to exactly what Bob Iger and the higher-ups over at Disney are planning, especially with Favreau and Filoni really signed up for something big to actually really incorporate Luke Skywalker into something truly special. So, a lot of this has to do with a post-Episode 9 series that's currently in the works right now as we speak. We've talked about this before, of how there is a live-action sequel series that's going to be made by Favreau and Filoni that's going to feature a cameo of Rey here and there, portrayed by Daisy Ridley, to kind of really just show us the events that take place after Episode 9, and what it means for Luke Skywalker is actually quite shocking. Now, with Lucasfilm getting ready to make some very big decisions with the future of Star Wars very soon, they are also getting ready to make big announcements at this year's celebration event for the fans. However, one substantial thing they are developing is a plan to reversing Luke Skywalker's death that is now well into the development stage for a new live-action Star Wars show that will take place after Episode 9. Now, furthermore, it's described that this new take on Luke Skywalker coming back to life involves the Whills, who are godlike beings. The Whills are described to play a very large role in the upcoming Star Wars series that will grant Luke the opportunity to become flesh and blood for one final time, to take care of business, of course, to bring balance to the Force again. Storyboards have already been created by both Favreau and Filoni, in which they have Luke returning to the mortal world through the power of the Whills to face Palpatine's spirit in a young clone version of his body that was left somewhere on the world Abyss. Now, let me just stop right here. This, of course, without a doubt, is a big callback to Dark Empire 2 and Dark Empire 3. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but in Star Wars Legends, Palpatine literally comes back like 3 times, and it seems as though that this is what John and Dave are modeling this after, and sure, I get it. The initial thought in your heads that are going on have probably to do with the fact that, oh, Palpatine's coming back again, or I'm tired of seeing Palpatine, Palpatine's getting very old, stuff like that. I understand how many people may feel like that. However, this is just John and Dave's scenario or strategy to really kind of doing what should have been done in Episode 9, is that Palpatine should have met his demise by the hands of a literal Skywalker, and to really kind of make that feel more grounded in the whole aspect of the Skywalker family tree, and how, since Palpatine is the one that really corrupted the Skywalkers, it would have made all the more sense for, at the very minimum, Ben Solo, the last Skywalker, to really kind of bring balance to the Force by defeating Palpatine himself. That would have made more sense, or even if Luke or Anakin were involved some way, somehow, as Force ghosts. But I digress. This whole Episode 9 post-series that's going to include the power of the Whills to bring Luke back to life, temporarily speaking, unfortunately, not permanently, This really does kind of remind me of some franchises out there that did do this with some of the characters, but it's something. It's better than nothing in my opinion, and I think that this may very well just create some kind of entertainment value for the fans. Moving on. Now, this is said to be a callback to Dark Empire that will be used in the upcoming series to allow Luke to be one to bring balance to the Force again, and to end Palpatine once and for all. However, Palpatine won't be the only villain for the series, as they are set to introduce 2 others. With the return of Daisy Ridley as a cameo of Rey, Mark Hamill has already agreed to return as Luke to use this mighty power in this major John and Dave project that's in the works now to release in 2025 or 2026, depending on production scheduling. So, to put things more clearly of what's going on here, is that this post-Episode 9 series is basically going to be a series of episodes that's going to show us the rise of the new Jedi Order that's going to involve Rey and these new Jedi students and stuff like that, as well as incorporating, at the end of the show, some kind of way to bring Luke back to life using the power of the wills. And again, I've talked about this before in the past, that this is all based on George Lucas's original script of Return of the Jedi. In there, Obi-Wan Kenobi comes back to life as flesh and blood during the celebration event on Endor. And that was completely scrapped pretty fast, and it was an idea by George that is now being picked up by John and Dave to be incorporated into this post-Episode 9 series. And again, I know some fans out there are going to think that this is too extreme and it's a little too overboard. I get that. You know, I understand that. I can see that perspective without a doubt. But at the same exact time, it was either this, or it was either time travel or something to do with the world between worlds. And this is basically how they're going to be able to reverse Luke's death. This is their plan. In the most, in their minds at least, realistic way possible. Because, number one, this is a certain type of power that is not currently in the canon, and they have a lot to play with, a lot of things that they can toy around with that won't break any kind of canon. And that's one thing to look forward to, is that they have a lot of ground rules that have yet to be laid upon this new power by the wills. And that's another thing to be very well aware of, is that we have never seen the wills in Star Wars canon. Now sure, we've seen the Jedi priestesses or the Force priestesses in Clone Wars, but that's about it. We have not seen the wills, quote unquote. So this really is something. I think that this is a step, at least in some kind of direction, to entertain the fans. Do I think it's gonna fix anything? That's a very hard thing to really say. That's all dependent on people's mindsets and how the material is going to be executed by John and Dave. I don't think anybody can say if this is going to fix anything or not. So overall, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again.